the team. These guys have shown in the past that they have had greatness. They've certainly looked good in individual matches within sets. It's just whether or not they can bring that forward throughout the entirety of a set.
And, well, that all starts with some team play, Mifflin. And as we head into picks and bans for game number 1, already an immediate focus into the front line from the Valhalla Valkyries. They're going to waste no time in taking away that Amir from Genetics. Have to remember, though, Amir, potential flex pick for the Camelot Kings. But I'm liking the response of the rapid fire into eliminating some of those carries that we've seen the Valhalla Valkyries tend to centralize around. Soul, Loki, no longer on the playing field.
That does not feel good for the Valkyries. That Loki is something we identified a little bit earlier on as a win condition for the Valkyries. Johnny looks so good on this pick, but in Season 8, with these late game hyper carries, these auto attack hyper carries out of the jungle getting a little bit easier to come online. I know we talked about it on the waiting room. Kali hasn't looked particularly good here in the SPL as of yet, but if anyone's going to be able to do it, I think it will be Johnny, and it is still available to him. The Valkyries going to have to go a little bit deeper in their god pools, though.
Valhalla Valkyries, however, with that Fenrir ban in that third ban selection, will leave the Tiamat open, and the Camelot Kings, zero hesitation. If you guys were watching the pregame show at all, Tiamat being one of the most frequently locked-in first picks, and can't really blame any of the pro players for wanting to prioritize this god, Mifflin. She kind of just does it all for you.
Yeah, damage, survivability, damage mitigation, long-range CC with the stuns, and she can split push the map. I mean, I could go on. If it's something you want done in your Smite game, Tiamat's going to be able to do it for you. That's why she is the most frequently top pick god here in the SPL. Should have been Gilgamesh, but he's banned out more often. I feel like I won that on a technicality. But the Valkyries on the other side, able to get a pretty nice front line for themselves, Taco. I like this Osiris and this Sobek together. That is initiation and peel already. So now they can focus a little bit more so on their back.
And do you think that this combination of Osiris and Sobek is going to be enough to deal with the backline potential that the Camelot Kings have already introduced, because the On Her now being locked in, Terra becoming a factor as well, could maybe have put a little bit of rain on the Valkyries parade here with some of that backline dive potential out of the Osiris and Sobek. Is this top 3 the kind of response that you would want to see for the Camelot Kings, or do you think that the Zhonghui, Osiris, and Sobek are going to be enough to topple this currently?
I think that the Kings have gotten themselves a very strong top 3 here, but I'm not going to mince words. I woke up very early this morning to drive someone to the airport at 6 a.m. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't think Zhang Kui should get picked just about ever. I mean, we have not seen it succeed. It has struggled mightily in every single matchup. It's not one player that's been taking Zhang Kui and struggling on this pick. It's everyone that has locked in this god has generally lost on it. What does he do well? It's backline dive. We were talking about a little bit earlier that the Valkyries were looking for that style of draft. Zhang Kui fits it, but he needs a little bit of time to come online. He's going to need a little bit longer to get that movement speed as well, as you now get it scaling throughout the levels. I'm not a huge fan of this god. I know he does damage. I know he's got sustain. I know he's got team fight. We just have not seen it work just yet. Maybe the Valkyries can shift up my opinion.
See, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum here. I actually am a believer nowadays in the Zhang Kui, especially since the midseason patch went through. I think that he does have a ton of potential. His burst damage, Mifflin, is very scary. In case anybody isn't aware, there is a way to deal practically 2k damage in a split second. So it's nasty. I don't know if the Valkyries are going to be able to really tap into that potential, because it does introduce a little bit. No, I mean, I'm not banking it on the Valkyries by any means. I'm just saying I think there is a lot of potential still for the Zhang Kui, and if the Camelot Kings aren't careful, and if they're not respecting the damage that Zhang Kui can provide, they could find themselves in a little bit of trouble here. But with the Chiron now being locked in, this might be one of the most consistent drafts that we've seen so far from the Valhalla Valkyries, minus the Zhang Kui acquisition. I know that you're probably not riding too high on this one still, Mifflin, but I do like a lot of the teamfight potential that this Chiron introduces alongside of the Sobek and Osiris.
Their teamfight is great. Sobek has consistent initiation as well as backline peel if he wants to shift up his style. Osiris also going to be running amok in the enemy backline. Zhang Kui going to match him up there, and even if Chiron wants to play aggressively, he can at least use that Centaurus to maintain his life. If he's going to put himself at risk, well, you might as well have a little bit of death immunity on your side. But what the Kings have drafted already is great counter engage. Tiamat can spawn minions between you and her. You got Terra for that Earthen Fury ultimate, just giving you a little bit of burst healing as well, and the ability to lock down an entire lane with a root or lock down an entire jungle lane with a stun makes it a little bit harder to find those initiations. And now with Jing Chen as well, that is a tough front line to work through for the Valkyries. But as you've already highlighted, Zhonghui, great burst damage. They've got great dive already, and now we get a much better look at the Valkyries draft. It's very likely going to be Osiris out of the jungle, which does
zeros. I really think that to really maximize Zhonghui, I want Blink and I want Aegis, because if I go Blink Beads, then I'm just going to get sundered by someone and insta-die. And that's my concern here for zeros on the Zhonghui pick. If he can avoid getting sundered, and there are no sunders so far for the Camelot Kings, a good start for him, then I think that you can potentially go Blink and really use this as a backline dive option. I just don't think Zhong kills frontline super well. I think he kills backline really, really well. Maybe some of the best tools in the entire game in order to do that. So in that way, yeah, I do like it for Raffer. The problem is that sometimes against Sobek compositions, if they don't have enough pressure on your beads, you can just beads and beads the pluck and kill the Sobek. And I think that's going to be the question mark for Raffer, is can other players get enough start? I think anytime you're going to be able to rush stone cutting in this meta, you're going to be feeling pretty good about your odds. Really good impale there from Netroid, but the knockback immunity on the dash for Emilito was better in order to make sure he lives.
Stage as early as possible.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, but I'm a little surprised by that thought process from Ducky. I would have thought that he would go for, well, I'm not going to get punished for being not tanked, so I'll be able to build whatever I want.
One more spear is all that's going to be necessary. They'll jump in with a basic attack. Netroid strikes first blood in the duo lane for the Kings. A little bit of a sloppy first blood there, a little bit of miscommunication onto that, missed the impale afterward as well onto it. But Kings up first on the board.
Hey, this duo lane really continues to keep the pressure up. They got that Draugr already, and then head on over and keep the pressure up on this purple. But they're going to need Twig, and he's going towards the right-hand side towards this blue buff.
Johnny's going right in. Netroid has no mana. He's going to have to step in the way, and Johnny will burn down the Hunter, taking him out and putting the Valkyries with a quick response back onto the board. Now looking for Ducky, but he's got his ultimate. He'll go right up onto the Somersault Cloud. He'll steal the Scorpion away there for the Kings. But getting Ducky's ultimate, a big one for him. Twig still holding on to his.
A rare Netroid, you know, the stun from Tiamat, and then of course the Xingqian CC, both in terms of the root and the ultimate. Those are really easy abilities to cleanse the vast majority of the time. So Emilito is going to have to make sure that this training exercise is getting really good value in the mid to late game in order to really maximize this pick.
Johnny's not having a fun time with Twig over here. The Tether's going to get immune. Johnny's going to get rooted out. Ultimate by Variety will force the Lord of the Afterlife out of Johnny as well. So he's going to have to go right back into the tower. They'll lose out on that Scorpion. Well, maybe not. Ducky here caused a bit of a stir, but ultimately that one will go their way. And Ducky's got to ult yet again just to get out of danger. Fights.
Well, it depends on what he goes at 12. He's just hit it now. So whenever he backs, we'll see what he elects for. I'd be shocked if he went for anything but Blink right now, because you've got Twig to do some initiation as well.
Well, Johnny is taking about half of his health, and now Captain Twig is on the run. Big Man Ting joins the midst of the fray, gets the knock onto Johnny. Variety's going to chase him down, while Twig is being chased by Ducky and Raffer. Ducky up onto the Somersault Cloud looking for the slam down, but not going to like to go for it just yet. Now he got his eyes set on Genetics. Misses the damage from it and misses the Master's Will afterwards, so Genetics is fine for the time being. A lot of team fights scattering around, a lot of ultimates burned, but nobody will fall just yet.
Yeah, that Sunder didn't really get used there from Ducky. W at you in the late game, and those can be difficult to deal with, but with the amount of peel in frontline the Kings draft has, I think the Valkyries needed to play a little bit more aggressive early on. I don't think it's great for them that they're tied 16 in.
Well, Raffer's going to try and stop this Gold Fury, but he'll be turned on and burned down so quickly. Not even a chance to get into that lurking in the water. In the back, Variety goes. He's going to get the beads out of Zeros, who's just trying to run away as fast as he can. Pops that ultimate just to let some of the ghosts run through, but Variety does not care about the damage at all. He'll get a nice little solo kill in the back line, while they also force Johnny away. Big Man Ting chasing him out. Full health still on this mage. Ducky's made his rotation over, but I don't think he's going to have much success for it as well. Go Fury stopped for the moment, but immediately the Kings go right back to it.
Man, that Sunder and the CC chain onto Raffer was just picture perfect there from the Kings. When Raffer can't get the ultimate off, can't get the Sunder off, his blink was still down. you're not going to have a great team fight from that position. The Kings really started that one 5v4, and the Valkyries never had a chance to use the strength of their composition, which is not running. It's not running away, I should say. It's running at you. It's getting into your backline. Anytime Zeros is seeing variety in these fights, it's a bad start for the Valkyries. He cannot be the one getting engaged upon by the Xing Chen. He puts no threat on the Xing Chen whatsoever.
Leap in by Netroid onto Emily. He's forced to run the opposite direction. But Netroid kind of low on mana here. Might be trying to bait as long as he can, but Emil doesn't have a path to kind of safely get back here. Netroid's still waiting for that impale to come back up. Quick giddy up from Elitu. He's going to stop right at the tower line because look who's on the way. Johnny and Zeros. Netroid low on mana. Centaurus thrown out. Genetics is here to play defense for it, but how much of a defense can he put out because Raffer and Johnny are cutting off the path for Netroid. Instantly goes onto the Hunter. Nice little disperse. It's going to get him out for a moment, but Emily2's got the last basic necessary. Now Tings and Zeros have also rotated across the board. Ultimate in with the Mystic Rush by Captain Twig. He'll take down Zeros, but Johnny will fall instantly to big man Tings. And Emily2, who was just so safe earlier on, may be in a bit of danger now. Genex chasing him down while Ducky takes Twig out into the backline, but Genex doesn't have the damage to kill this Hunter. He's going to need a little bit of help from Variety, who's going to dive down into the tower and take down the Hunter. For a moment there, Aegis keeps him alive for the time being, but that Whirlwind of Rage and Steel will be more than enough to take down the Hunter. Big man Tings now with the rest of them, all three diving into the tower. Rapper low, Ducky low as well. He'll have to go up onto the Somersault Cloud. Nice little route. Variety staying alive. The Sunder has been putting in great work for him. Ducky gonna manage to find him with the Master's Will. Might find Genetics as well. Knock up out of Big man Tings will same for the time being. Rapper comes back in with the Sickening Strike. He's gonna have to immediately dash his swim back out, and Ducky picks up another kill. Put 3 on the board now for the solo laner, but I think Tings has more to say about that one. He's going to get a nice little slow ruination on the back end of that one, and Rapper gonna make it out.
Man, what a crazy team fight that was. Take a breath, J-Mac. Camelot Kings really get... Netroid goes a little bit too far forward. A good bait coming from Emilito. And Johnny's right there, right on time, but Zeros just didn't get to play that team fight again. He just got met in the jungle by Tings, who now has a 3 level lead.
Passive onto it as well, so he's going to also get that damage mitigation with it. I mean, I don't see a world where Big Man Tings dies unless at least minimum 3 people just deathball at him, but then you throw 3 people at deathball, a level 20 Tiamat, goes in a grounded stance, uses that ultimate. She's not dying. However, Zeros, he's not going to get a chance to see anything in that fight. He's going to get blown up immediately. Big Man Tings, again, getting the credit for that one. 3 up on the board for him.
Yeah, I just feel like the overall game plan here for the Valks got a little bit lost in what the Kings were doing with their slower pace. I think the Valkyries needed to play aggressive early, and once you get to this point against this composition for the Kings, I don't know your recourse, because this is where the Kings drafted for.
So far, Zeros has 1/2 of the picture on the board for his relics. He got the blink, but unfortunately, he doesn't have a chance to use that blink. Valkyries never got a lead for him. He's behind in level, so at this point, blink can only be used offensively for him, and he doesn't even have an opportunity to be offensive here. Johnny is trying for it onto Netroid, immediately uses that ultimate, and Johnny has no chance of making it out of there. Captain Twig will pick him up on the back end. Emilito now going to have to use as much as he can to survive, but he has no chance of getting out as well. Bit of a delayed Aegis, and that's going to guarantee a dead double kill there for Captain Twig.
And this is where the Kings draft just becomes unstoppable. They're grouped up. They're using the sustain from Genetics. There's no answer to that on the other side. Again, like I said, only 1 anti-heal here for Zeros, and he's been dead the vast majority of these engagements. Look at his player damage. I mean, he's not even at 4,000 quite yet, barely topping that of Raffer.
Not a good look when your mid lane mage is almost 16,000, 17,000 damage below the opposition. Onto that one, you can see the Tiamat topping the charts at 21,000 player damage for Big Man Tings. No surprise with the build, but kind of no surprise as well for how active he's been in these fights.
Yeah, the difference in player damage between Tings and Zeros would be the 2nd highest player damage in the game, if that was its own number right now. So that's not I think that really spells the whole story for this game. I don't know, man. I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch all of last week, but if I look at the stats, Tiamat got through a lot. She gets through again here for the Kings, and look, she doesn't put pressure on the map via split push anymore, really, very much at all. You need so many waves in order to get that done. If we thought that was the only reason she was good, it might be time to reevaluate because she's looking pretty good.
I mean, Hurrywind, I believe, got 2 games on her last week, performed very well on both those. I think he started off with a 4-0 at one point onto that mage with his early aggression he got against, I think, he's even against the Valkyries. I don't know why the Valkyries keep giving this Tiamat over to opposition because so far they haven't had a great answer to it. Raph already down a half-health Ducky in the midst of the fray. Nice little knock up to Sitaris in the back by Emilitu, who's going to push Netrioid out. But Variety and Genetics are very healthy, and Big Man Ting's a soloing Zeros on the far side. That's going to get the beads, and the Whirlwind comes out from Variety, sets up for the Desert's Fury at a Netrioid. It slams through 3, kills 1, and looking for 1 more on the back. Johnny going to throw out the sickle, but it's going to be all for naught. Nice little blink will stop for the auto attack, but Captain Twig will be the one to go on the chase. Overhead kick will take him down while Variety picks up another on the back. 3 kills on the board for the Kings in just that fight.
The Kings really did such a good job. They grouped up for a moment, let Genetics hit that Earth and Fury on the whole team, and then spread out again. Twig won his one up against Zeros. He absorbed that entire ultimate from the Zhang Kui and then dipped at the last second, let Big Man come in and really make sure that Zeros couldn't participate in that fight anymore. A good ultimate from Variety. The team play from the Kings has been really their hallmark, their calling card for the vast majority of the year, and it was on display there again.
Well, another 4,000 player damage on the board just for Big Man in that one fight. Now, I know we're not supposed to do any kind of math on the cast, but looking at the bottom 4 members of the Valkyries, he beats all 4 of them combined in player damage.
With room to spare at that. So this Tiamat continues to be an absolute nightmare for the Valhalla Valkyries. That's not going to get the job done. He needs really 40% up against this draft from the Kings.
And as we get closer to these Phoenix pushes, I mean, we already saw one Phoenix on the left-hand side go down, the right one is down as well, and so is Johnny. He'll go back to the fountain after being chased out by the mage. Well, this last Phoenix that's sitting up, is there any shot that the Valkyries can defend this one, or is it just going to take the Camelot Kings to just W key into the fountain at this point for them to get that kill?
They need to make a mistake from this position. The Kings have this one in hand. They just got to make sure they don't mess it up from here.
Well, it's going to be 4 on the defense. All 3 Phoenixes down. The Camelot Kings pushing forward. Genetics is going to be the one at the forefront of the throne room. Ruination's going to just do some nice zoning for them. And Tinks is going to throw out the Tempest just to keep Raffer pushed away. Variety going to get a nice little knock up. Netroid will pick up 1. Get another one onto the board. Why not? The Titan getting low. Big Man Tinks will pick up a 3rd one, and they're going to close this one out cleanly for themselves. 18-5. Read the scoreboard. Titan falls.
Kings in that match and say, all right, diff. Mid diff, solo diff, jungle diff, didn't really matter. The Valkyries got blown out of the water here today. It was a struggle that they brought up on the cast. They said 15 minutes in when it was 2-2, or 1-1 rather, on the slash lines, well, the Valkyries may have missed a little bit of their opportunity to flourish, if you would. And in particular, I think Zeros really does struggle inside of this one. And I'm not going to go ahead. I'm not going to harp on it. I'm not a loser or whatever, but Zhang Kui again kind of struggling here in the SPL, Taco. I think it's time to retire this pick.
I don't think the pick is the issue when it comes to the Valhalla Valkyries, Mifflin. Zhang Kui, I'm still going to be on the boat that there is some very strong potential here, just not sold that it is the potential the Valhalla Valkyries need to be trying to tap into. And again, you kind of touched on it during the Analyst Test segment, but the Earth and Fury from that Terra, just beautiful counter engagements every single time. Love the groupings from the Kings prior to those team fights. It pretty much negated the entirety of Zero's ultimate, did not really leave that Zhang Kui a whole lot of room to operate, if any at all. And then when you have the cleanup factors coming in with the harassment aspects of Raven, Xingtian, it was just so much chaos, it seemed like, for the Valkyries to try and coordinate any sort of effort through. That we saw the Valhalla Valkyries. Do you imagine those to stay the same, or do you expect that Tiamat has to be a priority ban here if the Valhalla Valkyries are going to default to second pick option anyway?
I think the only reason the Valkyries should let Tiamat through is if in some topsy-turvy world it also nets them a Loki pick, because that's Johnny at his best in my mind. I think Johnny on Loki is so much better than any of his, even his second best pick, that it's worth giving up something that the Kings would want, and I think the Kings have accurately identified that as well, Taco.
The Kings do not want to allow Johnny any sort of comfort or luxury with the Loki in his initiation and backline threat potential. Loki, very surprised to ever see that god in the hands of Johnny, with every team being able to recognize exactly how good he looks on it. The Osiris, on the other hand, didn't completely hate it. Feel as though the early game might have been a little bit more fluid had he actually had a mid laner that he could possibly play a little bit more aggressively through, but for the most part, I do feel like it somewhat accomplished the mission of just harassing the backline.
6,000 damage from the Osiris out of the jungle, 5,000 damage from Raffer out of the support. I'm not sure. Johnny said it before. If you fall behind
Emphasis
on Osiris,
on the early game.
Yeah, if you fall behind, it feels pretty bad in the early. You're feeling pretty all right about your odds, but I wouldn't be overly angry if he goes towards something a little bit different.
Well, the Kings, recognizing the fact that it's not the Fenrir that the Valhalla Valkyries are going to opt to ban away in that third ban selection, it's actually the Tiamat, so they'll adjust accordingly as well. And Osiris, a very nice interchangeable pick option here for the Camelot Kings, could be a signature Osiris gameplay here from Captain Twig, could also potentially be flexed to a variety in that solo lane role. It's really up to the Camelot Kings to decide where they want to go with this one, and they'll get a great opportunity, though, to see exactly what the Valkyries are headed in terms of their composition, and it looks as though they're taking note and just trying to solidify early game options here for Ducky.
Yeah, Sun Wukong, the bread and butter for Ducky out of the soul lane, has good survivability, can rotate out of lane incredibly easily as he is one of the more mobile soul laners we've seen. Also has decent build pass, especially considering no boots, means you can rush that soul leader a little bit more quickly, get those stacks online a little bit more easily as well. They're going to flank that pick with an Athena, and already they've got a pretty strong front line. Consistent engage. If anyone's isolated, Sun Wukong's got great single target CC once the team fight phase starts up. I've said it 1,000 times and I'll say it 1,000 more times. Confound, probably the best ability in the game as far as team fights go. Just great AoE CC. It's hard to argue against Athena.
Well, Camelot Kings, they're not trying to hide any more of their frontline cards. They've decided to just go ahead and show the Valhalla Valkyries exactly what their intentions are. Sobek, Terra, Osiris, having to assume that this is going to be Osiris jungle again for Captain Twig. He's always looked excellent on the pick and been able to establish very clear pressure from the get-go. Do you imagine this to be an issue for that Athena? Because Athena, while she has a lot of global rotation capability, Myth, there's so much early game presence on the side of the Camelot Kings, they might be able to counteract that global effect.
They might be able to, but you're at least going to have the numbers advantage in every single engagement inside the early game for the Valkyries. If a 3v3 happens in mid, well, Apollo can dunk in as well. That's not just Athena bringing that global presence, but it's Apollo as well. So I do like this draft so far from the Valkyries, but I want to see a little bit more consistent damage output. They could shore that up with their mid lane selection, but right now, the Kings have shown their hand, as you've already said. They seem to believe here in this post-boots world that a strong frontline, great initiation, and good peel is the core path towards victory, and they've already selected that in their top 3.
Well, Habwambra going to join the rest of the bands here for the Valhalla Valkyries, but can't help but notice that Raijin still up for grabs here. That's another pick that we've definitely seen Big Man Things have a lot of success with through the course of Season 8, and the Apollo is an interesting flavor here for the Valhalla Valkyries. Mifflin, I'm not entirely sold that it's necessarily going to be Apollo intended for Emilito. I have to remember that we have seen Johnny try to operate the Apollo jungle in the past, and Valhalla Valkyries, anytime they have this double global introduction to the map, I like the ban from the Camelot Kings of taking away the Chernobog because it kind of eliminates that aspect of the Valhalla Valkyries looking to just dunk one player at one time to try and leverage some of that global pressure.
That is a heads-up call-out. I'd almost erased Apollo jungle from my mind. Johnny has had some moderate success on it in the past, and, well, a little bit more global presence getting picked up here. Taco Nuwa locked in. Well, I mean, she's going to deal damage from anywhere on the map. Could be towards Emilito, could go towards mid. We don't know just yet, but seeing the draft as it is, I think we got to lean a little bit more so towards the standard. Apollo looking like it is going to be going inside of that dual lane. But here's a spicy pick we got to talk about earlier today in the waiting room. Artemis being hovered, and I really do like this pick if it is what is going to be the selection here for the Kings, because taking a peek at this Valkyries draft, it's a lot of slows already. The Master's Will, the dash from Athena, even the dash from Apollo, all apply slows for CC. Well, Vengeful Assault kind of invalidates that, but it's on her instead, so I kind of wasted my time.
Netroid just going to choose to run it back with the Honor. Can't blame him. A lot of pressure in that laning phase. We saw him oftentimes suppressing Emilito 2's T1 tower, although he was punished accordingly on a few of those occasions by the Valhalla Valkyries. Unfortunately, Honor still able to make his debut in team fights, and Raijin as well going to make a debut here for Big Man Tinks. Can't say that I'm very surprised. When you look at the front line that the Camelot Kings have afforded themselves, there is just so much peel, so much initiation. This is every backline carry's dream when it
Nuwa
comes.
can have a better time, but as soon as Raffer leaves, I mean, he is just food for Netroid. Now, there is some good news, and this was taught to me a long time ago, J-Mac, by Uzi back in Season 2 when he was always telling me that Nuwa solo was really OP, and I kept saying, Uzi, wouldn't you just get zoned? And he kept saying, no, you can't get zoned on Nuwa because Fog goes the entire length of the lane, pretty much, and your minions can absorb that XP for you. So at the very least, Emilito can sit really far back and just absorb pressure that way. But he's going to have to sit really far back and absorb pressure that way because I don't know how he lives if he steps up to this on her basically ever.
Well, now, granted, that's also solo lane, much shorter than the duo lane here, so the Fog won't go quite as far. I mean, how far back can you realistically sit and still be able to soak up some of that XP onto this Nuwa? We'll have to see how it goes for him as they're already under tower at just level 2. Twig taking quite a lot of poke, and we saw Johnny pull this pick out last week in Game 2 against the Dragons. Did really well for them, had 100% kill participation onto it, made the pick work really well for him. I'm just looking at this composition for the Valhalla Valkyries, and this just looks like a really scrappy team.
Yeah, it finishes kills really well between the Nuwa and the Neath and the Apollo. All three of those gods do a great job of finishing off low health targets. The problem is how do you get them low in the first place? But this composition kills tanks way better than their Game 1 composition. I mean, you just go the shredding build right now, the bow build, for these ADCs. Nuwa obviously thought of in terms of her ultimate come late game and what she does there, but I think her true identity in the vast majority of team fights is that she kills tanks really well with the prot shred from her 2 roots. Oftentimes are pretty devastating to tanks, so you got a root built into the kit from your passive, one of the best passives in the whole game, and then this big minion combo that'll do a lot of damage to tanks. The Valkyries also scale really well into the game because they've got 2 hunters and a Nuwa, whereas the Kings, you know they're going to try and go for a slow pace with this Terra and Sobek's frontline combo. I like where the Valkyries have ended up. I don't know if it's going to work, but I like the theory behind it.
I like the answer there for Genetics. They decide to dive onto Netroid a little bit, put some poke onto him, but Genetics instantly steals away that purple buff in response for it and puts Valkyries just a little further behind. Now he's buying their time here into the jungle, just taking a nice leisurely stroll through the jungle. He's going to get met by Raffer and Zero, so he'll lose about half his health. Not any major danger just yet, especially because Johnny hasn't made his rotation over, and now that he's got Tings, he's completely fine. In fact, they might be able to turn something around here. Ting's going to throw out the ultimate just to dissuade the Valkyries from pushing any further, as Emil is still pushing Netroid under tower, but I think that comes from the initiation earlier on.
Yeah, this is the poke earlier from Raffer and Emilito really coming to bear here for Netroid, but Netroid hits level 5, Emilito has to respect it now. I don't know if Netroid will die to a full combo, but I'm a little surprised. Netroid feels like he might have, because otherwise I don't think there's any way he pushes that wave like that. He just wants to back, heal up, reset, and get in a position where he can really come back into this lane and dominate it as you would expect. I'm not really sure quite yet. I would have probably leaned towards more Bluestone Transcendence, but it seems like Zero's is going the other way. And I think that it can work on either direction. It's just a matter of the play style, how often you want to use your ultimate.
Johnny and Ducky going to get a lot of assist here in trying to take down Captain Twig, but it's not quite enough yet. Ducky's going to blink in and immediately get flung back by Variety.
Emilito's treading water as well as he is.
Well, there's the immediate leap in by Netroid. Going to try and get a few basics in to stack up the power for that Desert's Fury. Nice minion stun and a missed impale by Netroid will spell the end of that fight for them. for now, though we do see Genetics
Here comes Johnny.
making that slow rotation through. Johnny in the sky looking for his target, but cannot find Netrio. Genetics makes his way back into the wings, trying to get that dive, but going to be unsuccessful for it. And once again, Defender of Olympus comes out defensively, and Johnny never landed. He's right back into the fray, but he doesn't really have the mana to continue this chase.
No, had to choose between So Beautiful and the moves, and he went with the non-dash option because he knew Twig might be on the way. Good pressure onto this dual lane. This is what you need to do to the new wall lane.
Well, they're going to continue this fight here. Even Tings has made his rotation through. Root not out yet by Genetics, but they don't need it. Taiko Drums will take him down, though. Johnny turns it around and immediately gets a response kill onto Genetics. Almost took out Emilitu there, but not quite enough damage. Teams really on a 1-1. I mean, where did that lead come from?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, Genetics has a 400 gold lead over Raffer. You look at Variety over here in the solo lane, he's actually got a pretty big lead over Ducky this time around in a similar matchup.
Oh, Emil's not in a good position there. Impale will take him down, and yeah.
That's what should happen in that matchup every single time. And then Johnny should immediately get up into the air, and then you Defender of Olympus over if you need the defense, and you should be able to kill him before Emilito falls, or at the very least, in trade, that you can 1-for-1 that trade instead of just letting Emilito die for free.
Well, here's the double ultimate call out of it, or triple when you throw Duckies into the midst of it. World Weaver onto Genetics, probably not the most optimal target they wanted for it. Crashing down is Johnny, looking for somebody, but they're spreading their fight out. They don't have great target selection for it, and now Zeros is on the way as well after already using that World Weaver. Now Genetics, half health Variety as well. Confound's going to get two of them. Zeros trying to look for a target that he can get, but a beautiful root out of Genetics may have just saved that entire team fight. And look on the backside, here comes Tings.
Tings in a good position. Blink pluck from Variety, but beads out by Johnny, and Tings ready to eat.
He's going to throw out that Percussive Storm and right into the Taiko Drums, looking for one. Raffer, he's going to miss the second shot of it and not quite do enough damage for it. But Variety's getting low as well as Genetics. He's not going to dash into the Monolith. Instead, he's just going to dash away. A scrappy team fight's going to come out with a net 0.
Yeah, a little surprised that Tings couldn't do a bit more, but these are a lot of tanky characters on this side of the map and not a lot of pen quite yet for Tings. Has the 20%, but flat pen is oftentimes what you want at this point in the game, and wasn't able to really pick any of that up quite yet.
Mid-camp as well. Captain Twig and Variety both going for this Witchblade option. I mean, these items don't stack together. You know, if you get all 5 members with it, it's not going to, you know, super attack speed reduction. Is this just kind of dictate how they want to really play their team fights?
Going to walk to you here. This is where the all-in has got to happen. But you have to be worried about Johnny ulting in. He's got enough damage to really punish you now. So
it's not a matter of if or when we kill him. It's a matter of how long do we have to sit here and wait for him to do something before a team fight. It's kind of the Sobek doesn't win lane, doesn't lose lane. He just kind of sits there and he just farms.
Stalemates it. Here, big taunt from Raffer.
Oh, immediately into it. Johnny's going to have to go into the back. He gets hit by 3 of those Taiko Drums, and Raffer gets caught in the middle of all of them. Impale onto Ducky. He's going to get the Somersault Cloud out very early on. Genetics still playing a bit aggressive, dashes under that tower, and Ducky looking for a path out. Variety not going to find him with it, but the Thunder Crash is good. One more basic, it's all that's needed, but Tings will find it with the Percussive Storm, a leap for leap. Zeros to make sure he gets out, but Emil, I can't say the same for him, or even Zeros now, because the tanks are diving into the backliner. I say the tanks, but it's big man Tings diving in, but he's caught under the Phoenix, and he'll get turned and burned immediately by Emil.
Bit of a tough one so far for big man, but I don't think it's really going to matter because everyone else is absolutely working it right now for the Kings. Twig
triple
try to get him. Emilito might be turning it around.
Johnny's going to pick up another one, takes the potential Penta away from him, but they can get a nice little team wipe here if they can find Genetics. They just need one little bit of lockdown to take out the support, but the Blink might spell the end of that one. Raffer is still hunting in the wings, but those walls to make sure that Genetics has a safety path out.
All right, so the Kings really should have just destroyed that whole team fight, but then they decide to dive this Phoenix. It ends up being a massive overextension that's going to cost them a lot. This should be a fire giant here for the Valhalla Valkyries because they've got the DPS to do it. They've got Johnny, they've got Emilito, though Emil's not exactly contributing the most DPS in the entire world. They've got to try and get this down before Genetics gets here, because if Genetics gets a big ult off, he might be able to kill people by himself.
That is barely half health for Genetics, has made his way into the pit. He's hunting
Sundered.
for Emil, Sunder, and stuck on the Ring of Fire as well. The walls are good, but not good enough to get him out, because Johnny will dive right in, but here's Tings on the Tycho drums, looking for something. Genetics will get the credit for the kill afterward. Emil is low on the backside. Fire Giant still not down. Valhalla Valkyries will secure it, but how much will they lose on the back end of it? Make that 2 so far, and a third with Ducky falling down. 3 for the Fire Giant and Genetics. Not sure that's too worth.
Yeah, and only Zeros and Emilito have it. I mean, those are 2 good members to have it on, but you're going to lose a lot on the objective front. This should be a mid-Phoenix pretty easily. Raffer's up in 10, and he will have his Sunder up and available, and it's upgraded, so maybe they can make it work. But as soon as Netroid gets here, this should be pretty quick work on this mid-Phoenix. Just a matter of how much noise Emil and Zeros can make with help from Raffer.
Stun onto Variety. He's at half. He's going to get sundered back into the pillar. Zeros with the style kill on the backflip. Ultimate out of Emil to get a little bit of pot shot damage. And the Phoenix will stand. Camelot Kings not able to close it out. Not quite the damage available to them in order to take down that bird. So Valkyries, they hold out for just a little while longer on that mid lane objective.
Hey, that's a great trade for the Valkyries now, because you still have those 2 members with Fire Giant. You are in a better position in order to take this game, and you didn't even lose the mid-Phoenix. They nearly stole away that Oni Fury as well.
But Rapper's going to lose his life because of it. Use that dash to get in. Now Ducky's going to get shredded. Barely gets up onto the cloud. Johnny dives in the background looking for Tings, but Captain Tway will get the double kill, taking down Zeros. And Netroid finds Emil to make it a 3 sweep so far. Tings going to make sure to zone Ducky out with that Tycho drums as well. So Fury goes down the way of the Kings.
All right, now this time, surely they can get this mid-Phoenix, because it is already very weak. That was just, I mean, Raffer nearly gets Oni Fury, but he's got to tell his team, I'm going in for the steal, don't get baited. Instead, they get baited, and they're going to lose a lot for it.
Bird is going to be the least of their troubles so far. They lost the Fury, now they lose the mid lane Phoenix. And if there was any jungle for them to steal, they probably would have lost all of that as well. But luckily for the Valkyries, the speed and the blue are already
Kings
down.
Don't do it for free. Very different story to last game's composition.
And he's getting shredded without the need of a Sunder as well. That's triple blink and 4 sets of beads on the side of the Camelot Kings. They don't feel that they need that Sunder. I mean, like you said, Rapper's just dying the instant he taunts anybody. You know, you taunt that carry, Netroid's going to destroy that carry in this case. So, I mean, right now, it's just not looking super hot for the Valhalla Valkyries. They're going to have to make this Phoenix defense work out for them, though. Captain Twig going to have to use Lord of the Afterlife away. Genetics gets taunted back in. Johnny in the sky looking for a target to dunk down on, but not going to make his choice just yet. Waiting for the rest of the team to make their way in. He's going to look down towards Genetics, but Genetics is still living on just a thread of health. Blinks out, but Emil will have the closeout for the ultimate to make sure that he falls down, but at what cost? Genetics is getting low into the back. Ducky, he will not be able to live through there, as well as Raffer gets shredded down by big man Tings. Only 3 left for the Valkyries.
And Genetics, even though he dies, he lived for an eternity. And he made Johnny commit the ultimate onto him instead of being able to land onto the back line. And I think that's what you're looking at in this game, is the difference in how effective this front line has been for the 2 teams. Ducky has just been unable to really stay alive or do enough damage on his dives. He's not really... I'm looking for Raffer to dash in, taunt, immediately turn and ult whoever is getting dove on his team, and let Ducky and Johnny really follow up together on what is happening with that new...
That big experience difference can be big coming into this fight, and the gold difference probably even more stark onto there. You don't see it quite across the board. It looks fairly even as far as the items, but I doubt that the Kings have taken a chance to go back and spend a lot of that gold. 2-man taunt in by Raffer. Gonna get Genetics down to about half as well as Variety, but Genetics makes his way out. Ducky barely with a sliver of health was able to make it onto the cloud, and they're waiting for his land. The wall not going to find it. Desert's Fury not going to do anything for them as well. Twig is keeping Johnny company on the left-hand side there by that mid lane Phoenix, and Twig is just going for the boxing match, I think, onto it. He's coming out on top of that one. Johnny going to be able to so beautiful or dash away from that one with the moves. Not going to be able to find it, though. Both of those jungler is going to make it out for the time being, though. Ducky is continuing the chase and just gives up the right side.
Yeah, I don't think Ducky's going to be able to kill Twig from this position. In fact, I think Twig might win it with this health pool. He's got plenty of damage in the build. That serrated edge helping out with that extra pen really forced Johnny back underneath that mid Phoenix. But again, I think Raffer's playing this game really well. Another huge taunt from him, and there's just not quite enough follow-up. Emilito had a good combo. They were ready for it. They just aren't close enough in their builds.
Wall comes through, another two-man taunt out of Rapper, but he's going to get plucked right into the back line and taken down by Netrioid and Big Man Tings. Now it's the 4v5 under the already weakened mid lane Phoenix. It's not going to last much longer. And down the bird goes, and the Walls will keep one Titan for now, but Eliminate 2 not going to live for much longer. It was only a delay of the inevitable. Variety picks him up, and into the throne room, the Camelot Kings go, looking to close this one out quick. Zeros gets thrown to the back, but he doesn't have any chance to live through that one. He's going to be taken down. And the Camelot Kings, and again, they're going to take a nice 2-0 victory over the Valhalla Valkyries. Just taking a little bit longer to get there.
Look, as expected, the Kings are one of the premier teams. The Valkyries have really continued to struggle here in Season 8, even after the mid-season patch. But
I'm just a huge fan of what we saw from the Kings, and I think it's something that the fans have come to expect from this draft.
Just think that every single member from the Camelot Kings was really operating at their maximum capability today, and it didn't matter if you were looking at duo lane, at the jungle, solo, mid lane, whatever. Variety really hit the nail on the head during that pregame interview when he mentioned that he just had expectations for the entire team to perform. And it just seemed as though there wasn't really a whole lot of concern from the Camelot Kings, even where there were those moments for the Valhalla Valkyries where it seemed as though the game might be able to shift into their favor. Camelot Kings just regrouped, recentered, and refocused their target focus onto some of that back line, and really just did a great job, I think, at controlling the entire map, despite the fact that it was the Valhalla Valkyries that had all this global presence.
Yeah, they had so much of it, the capacity to dive the back line, and a couple of times the Valkyries did do a good job of separating the team fight. Very often, Netrioid would get isolated, and it'd be up to him and Genetics to fight their way out of these dire odds, and very consistently, they were able to do that.
Even the rest of the league on their toes as they climb into that third place spot, or I should say keep it, rather, with a 3-1 standings record. And as you guys can already tell, Olympus Bolt still sitting pretty at the top there, tied for first place with the Atlantis Leviathans. This next set up against the Solar Scarabs actually going to be taking place here in studios.
Woo!
So having that little bit of land factor being provided is certainly bound to be a load of fun between the Olympus Bolts and the Solar Scarabs, with the Camelot Kings taking over the Valhalla Valkyries here.